So warm greetings, and as always, it's nice to warm up with these subjects. And in the form of what the worldly view on these subjects, Eleanor Roosevelt said that great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, but small minds discuss people. The quote that I particularly love by Ralph Waldo Emerson, that the mind, once stretched by a new idea, never returns to its original dimensions. It's such a positive thing to know. And every minute that we're engaged with the truth is leaving that seed, and will always have an impression. And finally, a well-known quote, but worth revising. This is John Milton in Paradise Lost, that the mind is its own place and in itself can make heaven of hell, hell of heaven. So we can share those in the chat. And very profound, knowing this wheel of time, that we are witnessing the scenes of hell, but the mind has its own place and has experience of that deity-like angelic view, which is lifting everyone's attention to the eternal truth, and that actually creates the heaven. So it's such a deep point. So again, warm welcome, and now going to welcome my brother Prashant. So welcome back.
Hello, and good evening from here, and so nice to meet after a break. It is more like a Madhuban, break, and some of us were in Madhuban, and we might have met there. So let us start with a few moments of attention. We all, we are all the time using the mind, like it or not. Just that one extra factor here, we are paying attention to this aspect of knowledge. We bring in knowledge and give value to the subject of attention. Game changes very, very quickly. In the world outside, there is scattered, mind is scattered. There is no preference given, and there is no knowledge. So when we use the language paras, we give ourselves permission to use 100% knowledge. So right now, we create this full clarity. And in this full clarity, we understand the physical world for what it is. Important, we see it as small. And we are coming beyond this physical world. Alokik world. We see this dimension as important it is not just a meditation experience. This is the main word. And we are using our spiritual sight to see it, experience it. Our attention is there. Just seeing this expanse of light. Most important, we know this is the world that is beyond the physical. We also know this dimension is timeless. Mind is directed towards this region. Thank you. Just experimenting. We just saw what is possible. We can direct the mind where we choose, and with attention, keep the mind in that experience. Next minute, let us take a very alokik example. Again, experimenting with the mind. With the eye of the mind, we are seeing a bird in the sky. You can call it imagination, but there you are. We are using the mind to see the bird. And we want to stay in that experience just for a few seconds. We hold the image of this bird in the sky. We can practice this with eyes open, eyes closed, but the eye of the mind is seeing the bird in the sky. Thank you. One nice thing about the mind can only have one thought at any time. I'm using the word thought synonymous with experience. Like, for example, if you are seeing the bird with the mind, during those seconds, you won't be thinking of anything else. Even if the eyes are open, mind will not see it. You might have experienced it in the last few minutes. And you were practicing with eyes open, whether seeing the sky beyond or seeing the bird. Eyes were open, but as if you were not seeing things here. Eye of the mind was engaged, seeing something different. This is very relevant for us because if we want to stop the Ravan, that is what our aim is, not just superficially negative, but we want to stop Ravan, then we have the option to keep the mind busy. If the mind is given certain thoughts, during those seconds, mind is not going in the other direction. Thank you. And the encouragement for more of us to come in the sound and light. And welcome to come in the camera, and feel free to maybe not exactly sound, but type your thoughts, comments. We encourage this interaction.
There is a question already.
Yeah.
What is a timeless dimension? Is it possible you could explain a little, expand on that a bit?
Yeah, sure. Just like, say, you come into one room, there is sound. Just giving very different example. There is sound and some drums going on and some music playing. You go to another room, it is soundproof room. There is no sound. Still there is a room, but there is no sound experienced. Same thing happens at another level. There is one dimension where there is beginning, middle, end, past, present, future. This is what is happening. So when we say physical world, the very fact that there is change means there is time dimension. Past, present, future. Right now we know, it's what happened an hour ago, and we know there is something will happen in an hour. So there is a time dimension here. So it is nice exercise for the mind to come to another room, just like giving the analogy, a room with sound and room without sound. In the same way, we are coming to this another dimension where there is no past, present, future. Changeless, endless, and so timeless. It is good for us to grapple this dimension. Our mind can experience this. So timeless is a nice word. It also means there is no end, and so the word eternal applies to this dimension. And a question: how is the experiment? How is the we are focusing on few words. One is attention, and giving mind a very clear direction and attention, and to know that we are in charge of this mind. If we choose, we can give it the direction we choose. Second, the word we are emphasizing is knowledge, clarity, as opposed to confusion, ignorance, darkness. It affects. If there is a confusion, the mind is used in that confused way and wasted. Time is wasted. Just like anything, something very precious. If someone is confused, he may be wasting it. But someone is sensible, he will use it, for the benefit of others, benefit of the self. In this universe, there is universe, galaxies and many, many things in this. Even in your town, there are so many things. And this body, and it is all miraculous. Everything is so beautiful and rich. But one who is experiencing all this is the mind. If the mind was not there, as if this whole universe is there or not there, no one is there to experience. Mind of humans, animals, we are seeing how extraordinary this mind is. Immensely precious. compared to everything else in the universe. There is a but. The mind is such an amazing thing, wonderful thing. But what is the but? There are many people who would rather, their mind is creating problem to them. They say mind is the cause of their problems, sorrows. So what is that but? Everyone has got this extraordinary gift called mind.
Question, who is using the mind?
Yeah, very good.
It can destroy us.
Yes.
If we allow it to, but the mind is unstable, so it's a gift, but it's unstable.
Yes. We are going to use a few images. I'm going to use the whiteboard. And one image I like, image where mind, we are seeing this as a mind. Mind as a stage. Just like in a drama, there is a stage. In the same way, the stage. And on this stage are the actors. Who are the actors? These are the thoughts. We are in this model, we are seeing mind as neutral, just like a stage. Stage is not good or bad. Stage is neutral. Who is on the stage? That is what matters. So there are different thoughts. They come, and thoughts lead to experience. So within our cognitive apparatus, there is the experiencer. So right now, what is happening in your mind? Someone is experiencing it. So that there is a mind creating thoughts, and then there's someone who is experiencing. So if the mind is creating chaotic thoughts, here is the king, one who is experiencing. King will have sorrow. King will have happiness. King will be disturbed. If on the stage there is a harmony, there is a orchestra, there is a right performance, then the king is happy. King will have a good time. So we'll come back to these images, but enough to know that mind is like a stage, and one who is experiencing. There's something within us, one faculty, and these are all faculties of the soul. Mind is also a faculty of the soul, and the experiencer is also the faculty of the soul. Not the intellect. Intellect is still something different. And so this we use the word king for this, one who is experiencing. And the king, we want to give him a good time. There is no reason why he should be unnecessarily experiencing sorrow. We'll try and see how it can be done. Another area for us to know, connected with the mind, there are some biologists who say mind is not limited to the body, brain, and that there is something more about mind. One biologist wrote a book, and based on his experiment, and the book is called Being Stared At. And what he does in this experiment, some are sitting in the front row in an auditorium, and there are some other people. He asks these people to stare at some people, some individuals, sitting in the front. So physically, there is no way any sound will reach the other person. And chances of the other person turning around straight at the person who is staring are statistically very significant. So the book itself is called Being Stared At. And so you look at someone, and he also sees that in today's world you can send texts, and you can send texts at any time in the day, night, and people from different countries send texts. And chances of you thinking of the other person at the same time are significant, statistically very significant. Chances of you waking up from sleep and at exactly the time when the text is sent are significant. So how do we explain this? And what he says, this biologist, if someone was sitting in front of me and I just poke him, and I just use a finger, poke him, he will turn around. He will understand someone is paying attention to him. He will turn around, and he want to see who is, poking him. In this case, the other person is 20 yards away from him. According to this biologist, when he stares at the other person, you are using the arm of your mind and you are reaching him. And you as if touch him somewhere, something is touched. And that's why he understands, he turns around. That's why he wakes up from sleep, and because someone is touching him. And some text is sent, he has not heard the sound, there's no notification, it may be silent, but he understands someone is touching him, poking at him. But it is like the arm of the mind, according to him. Baba uses the example, vehicle of the intellect, just a language. And Baba says your supreme home is thought away. You can take your mind, not just in another country, another city. You can take your mind to another world, in the three worlds. God is a thought away from you. It is such an amazing thing. Mind, we are in charge of this mind, and we have the option to take this mind, and we use the word eye of the mind, but if you want to poke at someone, you can use the mind to reach him, think of him, and have that confidence. In Baba's words, language of the lips may stop at the ears. You are explaining something, but the language might stop at the ears. So he may not agree with it, he may not even understand, but he heard it. But language of the soul, ruha, will reach the soul. Ruha Rihan. Language of the heart will reach the heart. Baba's words, exact. So it is such a beautiful thing for us to experiment with. there is this beautiful faculty called the mind, and we can use it instead of in a random way. It is a scattered mind. That is what happens in the world outside. We understand the value of it to give it a very clear direction. You want to say anything, add anything?
Yeah, I'm just trying to really understand deeply, because it feels very relevant, that it's like your mind is literally touching or engaging with the timeless reality. So I'm still processing. A question here: is the intellect a faculty of the soul?
Oh, yes. There are these different faculties, different functions, memory and our discrimination and all these different functions which are happening at a non-physical level, at the soul level. And these different functions, it is good to give it a very distinct name, different faculty. We don't need to lump them together. Intellect is the one that discriminates and makes decisions.
When you were giving the stage model, the mind, and you said there's the star, which is the experiencer, and it's like the king. Does it not depend on who the king is as to what is enjoyed? Because we know the soul is the real king, but then when ego is ruling, he becomes king, and he may have different preferences.
Sure. And that is still another area, but the experiencer is the same. Ego is not the experiencer. The experiencer is beyond that. Another faculty within us.
Yes, I see. We have the, I don't want to mix the analogies, but we say the soul is unconscious. So the angelic aspect of the experiencer is unconscious. Is that right?
Yeah. And these are another level function. But experience is happening, whether angel is conscious, angel is not conscious, ego is conscious, different ego may be dominating, but experience is happening all along.
Thank you. A little earlier with the subject of time as a question, would it be true to say that if there's no motion, there is no time?
That's right. If there is no change, and there is no time. So in this dimension, there is no change, no motion.
Okay, thank you. So a question that's just come in. If the mind has experienced trauma at a young age, and then an adult experience might trigger the trauma in the mind, and the mind begins to feel unsettled, is it just a matter of healing, or does the intellect need to act to stay in control?
Yeah, sure. This is what brings us to this next subject, and the subject is knowledge, clarity, ignorance. So what is this knowledge and ignorance? So this is another image. We all are familiar with this image. And this image helps us to see in 100% clarity. If anyone is 100% clarity, this is what you will see. That's why we use the language paras And when we are using the word paras, it is good for us to go for 100%. So one who is paras, he understands that this entire physical world, let me just draw this. This entire physical world is a small story that is like a very, very obvious for him. Just making some changes. And this physical world that includes this gathering and that includes Prashant, it is all part of this little story, no different to any other story. And there is nothing that need to change there. There are so many stories. I don't try to change the stories. There is nothing to complain, nothing to worry. That's a story. Story is a gift. Every episode is a gift. That is the way he sees one who is in full knowledge, in full light, full clarity. He is aware of his world, alokik world. The word alokik is very important for Paras. Unearthly dimension. He doesn't see it as a meditation experience. He doesn't see it as a concept or some theory. But for him, it is like his world. There is his true family and true home. He belongs here. He knows he never belongs to the story. Temporary story, he doesn't belong there. That is in full light, full clarity. That is what he will experience. But we have also spoken various times of the dotted green line. And what is this dotted green line? What does it represent?
Make or break.
Yes, what else? Dotted green line.
Line of line of ignorance.
Yes, that is the, with that meaning we are using it. So to come in the story, even to act in the story is not a sin. Just as the actors go and act in a drama, they may watch the drama, they may act in the drama. That is not a sin. But to cross that line, dotted line, then you are getting into bondages and attachments, confusion. You don't realize that is a story. Different level of confusion. That's why full ignorance. In full ignorance, he is drowning in that. He lives in that story. Downward spiral. Completely forgotten about his world, and he thinks I am that Cinderella and trying to make Cinderella happy. This is his. We are seeing it as full ignorance to go in that direction. At the end of the Iron Age, everyone is in that state, and it is nicely described in philosophy They don't know that they don't know. So they are completely in such ignorance, but they give each other PhDs and they give each other prizes, and no one is questioning it. He said they don't know that they don't know. Such is the ignorance. There is like a double lock in that ignorance. Baba also says, game of 1 second, whole thing we can change in 1 second. So right now let us experiment with that. We said our mind, we want to use the mind. Attention is fine. There are many meditation practices. They also, in a alokik world, there is some kind of attention, and there is attention on mantra, attention on different things. But what is missing is the aspect of knowledge, an aspect of this truth that is missing. It is still in that darkness. You are creating some practice, meditation practice. So here our first thing we are seeing, how important it is first to come out of this darkness. This is when the word paras is important for us. Paras intellect. The moment we are using paras, we are able to see the way God sees. We are able to see in 100% clarity. We are able to see the story as story. Whole thing, what happened today and what happened yesterday, whole thing is a story. And I don't need to analyze anything if it is a story. Paras helps me to come beyond the story. What an amazing thing. We are using mind all along, and we are coming beyond the story. And beyond the story is the real world. This is that timeless world. We see it in the image of a sky, world of light. But most important, this is the world of the family, true family. They all are in the image of living stars. All are immortal. They all are noble. Why are they noble? Why we come to this conclusion? They are noble. When anyone is immortal and beyond harm, nothing can harm them, even the slightest. Story cannot harm anyone. The natural experience is of joy. This applies to humans, animals, anyone. If they realize that they are safe, they exist, they are not in danger, beyond harm. And further is invisible stars, the true family. They know they need nothing for their existence. They need nothing from the story, but they need nothing from anywhere. In a true sense, they experience ignorance of the word desire. We hear deities, the virtue of deities, they are ignorant of the word desire. Deities can be ignorant of desire because the souls, they exist without any needs. They are immortal without any needs. They are ignorant of the word desire. If they are in full light, and if they are in clarity. In confusion, anything can happen. But in full clarity, ignorant of the word desire and ignorant of the word sorrow. No reason for worry, no reason for complaint. That's why natural state is of joy. All and always. That's why this is the region of joy and love. And we are dealing with the real world. This is not a nice, some imagination. We are seeing the true family, and all are noble. They need nothing, and there is no reason for sorrow. That's why the word noble. This is the world of the family and the father. All are like stars. So also the father is the one who is always paras. Parasnat. One who is always in truth. One who never crosses that line. That's why forever in that experience of joy, bliss, love, truth. But he also knows this extraordinary truth of everyone in a natural way. He knows just how obvious all are good, all are immortal, and all are noble. We are just seeing this dimension. This alokik dimension, this environment helps the true self to become conscious. This helps the soul. Just like ignorance, if we create darkness, it favors the ego. You bring full light and full clarity, that favors the soul, becomes conscious. And he sees himself as an invisible player, sees himself in a natural way, invisible. For him to be seen as a tiny point is normal. To be immortal is normal. To belong to that supreme sky is normal. To belong to God, to be worthy of being loved by God, appears normal. He silently knows he is very lucky. He is talking about world of joy and love, world of immortality, world beyond harm, life with God. And there is an extra story to experience. Harmless. Story is harmless. Everyone is harmless and all are beyond harm. What an amazing truth. So he knows he is lucky, very lucky. He knows everyone is lucky. all are alokik, invisible brothers. Every second we are experiencing this, we make it easy for others to become conscious. We are seeing this phenomena where we are directing our attention here. Mind is experiencing this dimension. So it is not just mind is experiencing in the environment of full light, full knowledge. The soul is conscious. Invisible player knows that he is the invisible prince. He belongs to the King of Kings, eternal prince. There is nothing that can ever go wrong for him. Story is different. That is not his world. Story things begin, end, there are script. That is not his world. And he knows everyone is lucky. He is lucky. He's just seeing this. His mind is seeing this. And in the process, you are contributing to the true benevolence. So all we have done is use paras and as was said, paras, this environment of knowledge favors the soul. Soul becomes conscious. That is an important milestone in the journey of everyone. Soul that is conscious is using the mind. That's a celebration, great celebration. Soul that is conscious using the mind. It is like angel using the mind. That's why there will be benevolence. In Baba's words, do avyakta service through the avyakta stage. So this invisible prince, he is avyakta. He is in the avyakta stage. He is beyond the whole story. And so that avyakta service is natural. Why Baba is saying this? Do avyakta service through the avyakta stage. If we cross that line, dotted line, then ego is the king. Ego is ruling our mind. Ego is deciding things. And ego has no problem in talking about God. Ego has no problem with that. Ego can talk about, ego likes service very much. Everything can go on. He can do knowledge also, and yoga also, and service, and everything goes on, with ego. What's the difference? Anyone has experienced ego-based effort? What's the difference when it is ego-based effort? It is good for us to see the contrast.
one answer, experience getting tired easily. So it's sort of a lot of labor, maybe. I was just reflecting the aim is not high, actually. It's quite mediocre from ego, or it's like sidetracked by excitement. Another response, there's no satisfaction, it feels heavy. Wanting to be appreciated gets mixed. Expectations of an outcome, confusion, painful, I did it.
Yeah.
No.
What happens is when it is ego-based effort, he cannot get the experience. It can be imagination. It can be the commentary. It came up, he feels these are words, but experience doesn't happen. So it's a visualization, you might call it a visualization. Now that, ego-based, all these, even service through the mind, mansa seva. But if it is ego-based, ego means Ravan. Ravan cannot do the service of angels. The whole aim is to remove Ravan. That is our service. That is why do avyakt service from the avyakt stage. And for this step of the invisible prince becoming conscious, that is an important milestone. We can use this language also, invisible prince. Earlier we used to say, soul, soul is doing this, soul is loved by God. Now we are saying invisible prince. It can still be coming from ego. How do you take caution that ego is not getting mixed? Is there some simple checking? We will become free from ego in time. To be free from ego is a huge thing. But when we are practicing avyakt stage, when we are practicing meditation, we should bypass ego. At least during those minutes, it shouldn't be ego-based. That is our aim. So we are coming into the full experience, avyakt experience. But be ego, to remove ego is a karmatit stage. But we can come into avyakt experience whilst everything is happening. So how to guarantee that you are using the language invisible prince? Invisible prince is understanding all this. He is loved by God. He is subtle, alokik. All words are right. What is extra? Checking.
It's typed, it's ego-based if you're looking for rewards or results.
Sure. Sure. Any other? Now, when you are seeing this invisible prince, right now, let us come in this experience. Invisible prince who knows this alokik dimension and knows of his true family and knows of his life with God and world of immortality, knows all this. But the important statement here, he understands his independence from the story. This has to be underlined. Clearly see the invisible prince is not extension of the story. Even Prashant is part of the story. Invisible prince is not extension of anything in the story. No, complete independence. Story is separate and invisible prince is separate. If you mix it, in some, for some reason, that is exactly what ego wants. And ego will survive. It will become ego-based effort. Just this caution, just to use this, that invisible prince, sure, an invisible prince, his world is eternal and his world is noble and his world is God's world. We are talking about supreme reality, world of truth, fully. It is not mixed with the story. He understands his 100% independence from the story. And so you, during those minutes, instantly, you stop ego getting in. The experiences will follow. Alokik experiences will follow. Excellent. You want to add anything? Say anything?
I get the image in my mind of a magnifying glass. It's like further and further and further realizing the details, and this unmixing is like another layer of separation and to examine, and then it's easy, isn't it? The extraction. Now there are 4 questions here that came up. So one from a little earlier. Do the egoic heads dominate at the thought level or the experiencer level?
The ego influences our positioning. The whole interpretation happens through the medium of ego. It is as if, and then thoughts are influenced by ego.
A similar sort of question around what is connected to what. Is it the intellect or mind that connects to Paras?
Paras is an intellect, as opposed to other intellects. Paras is the highest of the intellect. Paras includes subtle. You can see this subtle reality. Paras includes broad intellect. You can see beyond the story.
Is it the soul or experiencer that experiences a natural state of peace?
Soul is the experiencer.
Are they synonymous?
Yeah. We said in the earlier discussion, the faculty within the soul, but ultimately the soul is the experience.
Okay. About ego, if the actor takes part in the story, the gift, is ego not inevitable as part of the acting?
Yeah, we discussed some subject like this in the past, but quickly, say if you are driving a car, from your home to work, you don't create an ego that I'm a driver. You drive the car. You don't need the ego for the function of action. You may be washing plates at home. You don't need an ego that I am a dishwasher, to perform that action. But ego we create just for indulgence, but there is a more detailed discussion we had when we discussed about ego.
Yeah, it's nice how it's worth revising and perhaps in the Sanjivani. Where does this notion to be worthy of God's love derive from? What happened with God's unconditional love?
Sure. One is God loves, but when the ego is approaching all this subject, ego doesn't feel worthy. It is each one's situation, bit like hang up of each and every one. So when ego is approaching the subject of God, for rightly so, because ego has got its confusion, ignorance, selfishness, desires. We are talking about Ravan. Ravan is incapable of feeling worthy of God's love. That is why this one step we have to take, bypass ego, come into the soul awareness, and then many things become easy, become natural.
It's quite exciting to really understand the mechanism and the word bypass, to really play with it. Does the gift, the story, have a purpose?
Yes, every story has a purpose of entertainment. Any story is there to entertain the children. So also this story. But it may do more things, but it is extra. And the reality of the soul and his world is independent. Starting position is that he is independent. He doesn't need the story.
That is experiential, isn't it? And when we experience that, story doesn't need to have a purpose either. Perhaps the two go together. So maybe it'd be nice to explore this question. What's the formula for bypassing ego?
The paras is a huge thing in this, because what happens if we are not using paras? The only other option is patthar, stone intellect. And stone intellect is stuck with the story. It is a big thing for him, for the stone intellect. Day in and day out, he cannot think anything beyond the story. We sometimes use the analogy of an anthill. The ants in the anthill, they don't know that there is a sky. They don't want to know. That anthill is their complete world. Same thing happens here. When we are using patthar, this is like an anthill. You are living in the anthill and thinking about ants, but everything, small things. The one quote Sarah read, the small minds think about people, and average think about events, but you are all in the anthill, events and ants. So here, the paras is like a first step. You are able to see beyond the anthill. There is now the option. There is something more than the anthill. You are able to see the sky, and you are able to see that, wow, maybe we are not from the anthill. It is an ant story. And this is like, that's why paras is like a biggest gift we have. More we use it, it will just become stronger. And then the rest all is the biggest prize. It favors the eagle. It is a bit like that. Eagle wakes up, eagle discovers the sky, eagle discovers other eagles. They are completely out of the anthill. So ego is the one that is caught in the world of ants. To bypass, we first need paras. But then, once you use paras, also take this step where you understand complete independence. You do not, the invisible prince, he knows his world is separate. This entire physical world that includes Prashant, it is not our world. So this is like a nice twist. The invisible soul, invisible player, one who is conscious, he understands he is independent from the story. And that whole story world, a whole thing, it is not our world. Invisible player is saying this. When you say it is not our, so you don't create bondages and you can watch it, but it is not our world. All of these things help to bypass the ego. With Pattar intellect, we helplessly get caught in the pot, and then you are in that anthill in some form. You create a holy corner within that anthill, but that is not the destination. Baba wants us to discover the sky.
It's very nice. Because it's game of the intellect, then the game is to strengthen the intellect. And perhaps the main way is in this separation, seeing the drama as secondary and small and separate. And I was making a list of the different tools. So one you mentioned, anthill, it could be puppet show or Lilliput drama or virtual reality. Or I like this camel and elephant analogy, whichever you find helpful, and using that. And that's a vehicle to strengthen the intellect in those moments. Someone is asking, what is the concept of the invisible prince?
Invisible prince is a word we are using for the soul. He is truly the prince. He belongs to the King of Kings. He has the most refined treasures, eternal treasures. As was said, his life is of joy and love, and joy comes with friends. There is no reason for desire and disappointment. No reason, no trace of it. And a family of divine royals, all souls are lucky. He knows this. And loved by God, belongs to God, a relationship of equality with God. Such is the life of this invisible prince. So the word prince is quite appropriate for him. We are talking about the soul, but it is like a reality. One nice thing, in all what happened in the last 15 minutes, for example, we were using the mind. Mind always gets used, in the morning today, mind was used in some form. But now, what happened? We created opportunity of knowledge, brought the clarity, Paris clarity, understood how to bypass the demon, really, the ego. And then the mind is now used by the angelic soul, the auspicious. There is nothing inauspicious. It is, you are seeing the greatness of others at an alokik level. You are seeing the truth. And all of this is guaranteed to bring results. So it is mind. It is not just a mind, okay, I sort of, mind for my happiness. Yeah, there is, of course, happiness here. But you are also using the mind for application. In the Mansa Seva, service through the mind. In this case, we are not thinking about the story. Somewhere there is earthquake and somewhere there is, we are not going there. It is like a lighthouse. You are shining light in the alokik. We are seeing the wonder of everyone beyond the story. You are not spending time in the anthill, but all you are doing is seeing the sky. And with conviction, 3 words: conviction, clarity, and concentration. If these 3 things are there, that leads to the experience. In Baba's words, the light will reach far. You are creating light, but if there is concentration and there is conviction, the invisible prince, for him, this dimension is obvious. He sees the reality of everyone. And so you are creating light. It is like a lighthouse effect. And there will be guaranteed benefit. We are talking about souls of the world. And so the mind is now used in such a beautiful way. It is literally angel using the mind. Yeah. You want to add anything?
So yes, just thinking how we ordinarily value our time and what is visible, like actions, but not realizing always the value of thoughts. So this application is it's creating a more realization of what the treasure is of mind. There are a couple of questions.
Sure.
I wonder if we maybe use this chance to take a break and then we'll maybe come back to them.
We can take one question and then take the break.
Sure. In this connection, can we say the mind is being guided by Paris intellect when the soul is conscious?
Yes. The intellect is the one who gives direction. Very true. That's why we are using Paras. We say, just like this image we used, mind is like a stage. Intellect is like the director. He can choose what is going to happen on the stage, which actors are coming and what they are doing. The director is completely in charge. So when the director is sensible, in this case Paras, then there will be angelic performance and the king will be happy. Our aim is to make the king happy.
It's interesting memorial in the court where there's like jesters come to make the king happy.
Yeah, happy. If you want to take a break and meet after the break.
Yes, I might ask a question. Would you like to pose a sort of question to start the discussion in the rooms? Prashant?
Who is using the mind? That is one question. And what is yes. That is the best way we can use the mind.
expanding on what we had. So we're inviting the room discussion, and this time you are free to change room if you're in the wrong room for your language, although hopefully it will be working well. So if you do change rooms, there should be a grid of 4 squares on your device. You just tap and then go down the list. Near the bottom are the different languages. So enjoy, and we'll see you back in just over 10 minutes. Thank you. Well, welcome back. Let's use this minute to experience the magic of the mind together. Welcome back. Thank you. In this image of the experiencer and then the stage with the thoughts being the actors, in this kind of story we often hear in fairy tales or mythology, or maybe this is what was happening. The king has the jesters come and perform some kind of entertainment. And the Iron Age version of these stories is if the king's not pleased, he sort of off with their head. They can. So it's like this basically mess that gets created when there is not that fullness in the mind. So I was just thinking about having this clear and high aim, because our original experience is so divine, so much depth of perfection and also security. So these light feelings, these appreciation, divinity is our natural, normal experience. And if it's not there, then we are going to look for that in confusion in this temporary world. So this need to have a very clear aim, and otherwise what we have is such a treasure, and if we're missing it, it is such a shame. So it's thinking on that, and how to strengthen the intellect so that the players on this mind stage are the right ones, and this independence from the story in different ways, making it like enjoyable and natural. So it'd be great to hear what came up in your room discussion, and please feel free to share those thoughts. And handing back to Prashant at this point. We also have some questions for you.
Thank you, and hello. Well, the whole game is so slippery, and that's why little reminders and revision. So let us come back to the highest consciousness. And all of this happens at the level of the mind. So for all this, we need to use the best intellect. And in a second, the invisible prince is conscious. Invisible prince understands his complete independence from the story. Just like the anthill, you are not having interest in the anthill. You know the anthill, but that is not your world. Such is the attitude of the invisible prince. His world is alokik, the world of God and world with God. It happens to be the world of truth. With the best intellect, you are living in truth. And you understand the true self, true family, true home, true friend. We are, because it is truth, truth also remains forever. Something that is temporary, just disappears, cannot belong to the department of truth. So whatever that is true is also eternal. He understands his world is a world of joy, love, but it is a world of perfection. Everyone appears perfect. They are viceless and egoless, sorrowless. That's why life of silent celebration. You're contributing to the benevolence and it is service, but at the same time, eternal celebration. It is fun. What happens in a celebration? There are feelings of belonging, feelings of respect, knowing the greatness of each other. This is what happens here. Alokik. The emphasis is he's seeing the alokik. Ordinarily invisible, but for him it is vivid and normal. So as we continue in our journey in the story world, it is the invisible prince who comes in the story world. Even why he comes in the story world, to reach his invisible brothers. That is the main mission. He doesn't come in the story world for as a beggar. He doesn't need anything there. He remains the prince and the noble. Thank you. Happy to hear the questions.
Yes, there's a couple actually, others just asking to be rephrased. So here, is altruism in the story egotistical?
I didn't hear the first word.
Altruism, is it ego-based? Being altruistic?
If the soul is conscious, he is naturally altruistic because he doesn't need anything. He loves everyone. So that's why the dynamics is altruistic. But when we cross the line and ego comes in, ego can play the game. Ego likes to be seen as altruistic. So that is possible.
So quite tricky perhaps, because you might not realize the conditions that may be there in giving, or it may be because it's more convenient. For example, others are happy than not happy. It may be because it's affecting my emotional mind state. So then there's all little clause. So that very clean giving that doesn't have expectations is not ordinary.
It's good to experiment and then observe. If the ego comes in, observe. But action continues. And we don't need to stop action. Say you might like to help and act. And ego will try to come in, but observe it and see how you can become free from it.
Yeah, yes. This came up in the rooms apparently. Question: how can the soul remember its role on the stage?
Remember the role.
The role.
Remember, drama continues non-stop. Like right now, Prashant is talking and texting. Prashant will be doing something else. Drama continues. Whether we pay attention or not. Just our inner question is, who is in surveillance? Is it the ego is running the show, or is the angel? That is the question for us. Our aim is to bring the angel, so that the angel is using the mind and the angel is involved in whatever that is happening.
That like you get, rather than 10 thoughts, you might get one thought. 10 thoughts from ego that's obsessed with the role, but one thought from the angel that can just move forward. Question here: if something we see or information is incorrect, should we correct it or not say anything if the drama is predestined?
We always act in some form. Like right now, the question comes, someone answers, we interact. We don't say drama is predestined, so I don't have to answer. And drama we involve. Whatever needs to be done, we do that. And whatever is past, we accept. That is the way the script is.
Like your example, sometimes we wouldn't say I'll have breakfast if it's destined in the drama. The question here: how can we describe the highest of all consciousness in short, in a sentence, just as a reminder? Is that possible?
Yeah. The highest consciousness is where there is the maximum detachment. That's all. If you want the essence, there is a maximum detachment. If someone is trapped in the story, he himself will say he is at a lower consciousness. Someone has addictions and all, he will say it is lower. Consciousness is low. That's why the invisible prince, he understands his complete independence from the story, from the role, from the whole lot. Independent. It is not his world. So that leads to highest. And highest consciousness attracts highest things. What an amazing thing. You're talking about a king, that like of all the functions, it is a king function in our consciousness. And you go for the highest, then you attract highest things.
Someone typed the maximum detachment and the maximum love by God. So there aren't any other questions right now.
Sure. So what we have seen we saw that there is the mind. We saw it is like a extraordinary faculty. And we said, but there's a but there. And the but is 10 heads of Ravan. They know the value of mind. So they are full time using the mind in the Iron Age. Mind is amazing, but who is using the mind? 10 heads of Ravan are full time. And such is the situation when there is darkness of ignorance, when there is patthar intellect, confusion, and Ravan. It favors Ravan. It favors ego. And they are. And so what are they doing? Just pettiness. They just keep thinking about the story and obsessed with things and complaining about. What was that quote? Small minds think about people, and mediocre mind thinks about events. But these are like the small minds thinking about the anthill and complaining about ants and impressed with the ants. That is the end result of ignorance. Full time mind is used in that, and maybe getting headaches also as a result, and sorrows because of this ant politics. So the game changer is bring light, the light of knowledge. And we want the angel to use the mind. This is the game. When Baba says, be the master of the mind, one head of Ravan also wants to be the master of the mind. But what Baba is implying, let the angel be the master of the mind. So even for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, to experiment with this, from now until tomorrow, we have a chance to experiment. We understand the steps, very clear. And all good habits, bad habits start somewhere. And so even 2 minutes, you bring in the invisible prince. He is not caught in the anthill. Many things happen, but it is not even the real, it is an ant story. So why would he waste his time worrying about ant politics? he can go beyond. He is in the celestial celebration. And as a result, he is useful to himself, useful to others. There is a benevolence, immense benevolence to others, but that also becomes a karma for you. So all around there is benevolence. And benefit. There can't be anything higher than this. To understand, we are talking about most refined faculty, mind. And if the mind is used by the highest, you get everything else. And everything else will be in place. Through the cycle, not just temporarily, through the cycle. Excellent. So you might like to add anything, say anything.
Sometimes I find when I'm listening, it appears simple and then suddenly really complicated, because there's so much to discuss. I think, gosh, it must be so complicated. But then now and then you get this very simple aspect, and what you just said, mind with the highest. So the preoccupation with the highest feels like a very nice way to hold the essence, because actually that does challenge ego. So something which it is simple, but it is slippery, maybe. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
Yes. In Baba's words, the whole thing is easiest or the easy, simplest. But it becomes simple if you use the right instrument. Anything, if you even cutting a potato, or it can be very easy. It can also be very messy. Depends upon if you are using the right instrument. If it is blunt, it can create a messy situation. Same here. If you use the best intellect, then everything becomes easy. And the more we use paras, it will become refined. It will become stronger. Let us create another minute of attention. And as was said, we aim to come back to this many times over the next 24 hours. We understand the immense value of the mind, and it is not just suppressing the mind, but who is using the mind? That is what we are. And create an environment favorable to the angelic prince. Paras creates that environment. The moment we use paras, the whole anthill becomes anthill. You are seeing it like that. And you are seeing the sky beyond. Natural, normal. And in this environment, the invisible prince, he becomes conscious. And first thing, he understands his independence, complete independence from the story. We need to come back to it often. Is there full independence? Especially right now, Prashant is talking about sky, about prince, but Prashant is part of the anthill. And at the same time, the invisible player is conscious, is observing his alokik world. He understands this 100% freedom, separation from the anthill. The moment you get this 100% freedom, the supersensuous experiences follow. It's like a game of a second. And more we experience this, we create light and it becomes easy for others to experience. Thank you.
Shanti, thank you very much, and big thanks to all. We'll finish with a drill from Madhavan. So enjoy this atmosphere and giving that nourishment to the mind. But actually, before that, we can ask Prashant any kind of homework.
You're asking me for?
Yeah.
What is the question?
Homework? Any homework?
Homework? Sure.
We're all good students. We're
Yes.
excited about this homework.
Yes, various things we spoke about, to come back to these many times, let us say 20 times, maybe for 2 minutes, but come back to these experiences 20 times over the next 24 hours. And that is 2 minutes, and even if you do 2 minutes each time, let them be a full quality, 100%. We use 100% paras and go for 100% the invisible prince.
Very nice. Yeah. To see the value of these minutes, that will be really interesting to experiment with, and knowing there's a group doing the same, sometimes, that gives extra power. So we'll enjoy that. Shanti.
you.